Hey everyone, it's Tom here, and joining me today is Rich.
Hello.
So today we're talking about Forza Motorsport 7. This is a kind of key showing at Microsoft's Xbox One X reveal, being one of few, if not the only, first-party true 4K game we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Microsoft went into the show with a lot of true 4K marketing, and in the event, the only first-party game they could actually produce that was running at native 4K was this one. But I think it's fair to say that it looks quite spectacular.
We kind of knew in advance that this would be the case, that this game would be, the real deal in terms of the resolution.
Yeah.
And, of course, that comes bundled with HDR as well. Which, interestingly, we had to work around because Microsoft gave a lot of feed out, which was actually HDR enabled, and so you might see a lot of footage out there which is still
there's a lot of washed out footage out there which was actually an HDR capture being presented as SDR, so we actually went back and took fresh capture in SDR, but we have banked those HDR captures and we'll try to do something with those further on down the road.
Right, in the build up to this we've covered already Anthem, which is a checkerboard 4K.
Yep.
We've done Assassin's Creed Origins, checkerboard and dynamic resolution. So finally we get a proper taste of true 4K, and there's some history to this actually, because the lead rendering architects of this game, Chris Tector.
Chris Tector, yeah, the studio lead architect for Turn 10, basically the guy responsible for directing the technology on this astonishing looking game. He is the guy who was talking about the highest quality pixels back in the day.
Right, that initial reveal of Scorpio, as it was known back then, it was kind of something people kind of smirked about, but it was taken out of context, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. I mean, whenever you see a 4K presentation that isn't from a video game, okay, let's say you're going to the cinema to see a digital 4K presentation, that is a compressed feed that you're seeing. I mean, it's a very high compressed feed, but it's still a compressed feed, 24 frames per second. And obviously there's a lot of titles out there that aren't native 4K, which are checkerboarded, which are upscaled. Those are kind of compressed pixels.
Right.
So the point he was trying to make was that for his game and many others that we haven't seen yet, true 4K, I mean, it does kind of give you the highest quality pixels. And I'm just looking over the transcript of what he was saying back in the day when I went to visit Turn 10 in March. And I mean, he was talking about the tiny little streaks of specular you'll get off the track, pixel level things, sub-pixel level things. You'll kind of miss out on all of that stuff when you're approximating native resolution, whereas when you're doing it at full 4K, it is there, and it kind of suits their particular art style. And he was talking about surface valuations happening per pixel, hard, clean edges. I mean, this is their kind of signature aesthetic. They've always run at native resolution, and that was kind of the point that he was trying to make. And obviously, back in the day when they did that Scorpio edit, all of this was obvious to Microsoft, but in the editing process, it kind of lost its meaning, and this poor guy basically became a meme. And essentially, without him, there's a strong argument that what you're seeing here wouldn't be looking quite as spectacular as it was.
So shall we concentrate on that? It does look spectacular, obviously. I feel like it takes a note out of the Forza Apex book in terms of matching the visual quality of the PC version maxed out in some respects.
Yeah.
It's quite close. I have actually put together some comparison of the Nurburgring track, which we got on both sides. Alas, weather conditions aren't exactly match for match, but you can see in terms of visual quality, we're running it on a Titan X to get these results on PC, and to have that on a console as well is quite incredible.
Essentially, a straight Xbox One port of the code to Xbox One X was about 65% GPU utilization. I mean, I saw that myself. So they've got headroom, they can do more. They have kind of attempted to ramp everything up to sort of ultra here. We can see much better texture filtering, for example. It's sort of on par with PC.
Yeah, we had like 4 times, I believe, on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And that was a bugbear. Well, it's been a bugbear for a lot of games this generation. And to be honest, it's still quite difficult to call what the exact filtering range is, the quality, but it's definitely higher than 4 times. From what I can see, it's really crisp.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, ultra settings on PC is overkill in many ways. It's not a great use of a console, and the Turn 10 team would prefer to use those resources in different ways. So for example, they can upgrade the anisotropic filtering and make it look nicer, which is great. but at the same time, there's not really that much of a gain going from 8x to 16x. So, those resources are better used elsewhere. Similarly, the ultra-level car detail, that tiny car in the distance there, that'll be using the same amount of processing power as the player car there. There's no point doing that. They might as well use those resources elsewhere. So it is about getting the balancing points, but they do have overhead. That's the crucial thing. But, from my perspective, what I found rather disappointing about Microsoft's E3 showing was that you didn't actually get to see any improvement between Xbox One going over to Xbox One X. There was no equivalent Xbox One code for Forza 7, for example.
It'll probably look similar-ish in style and the general setup to Forza 6, which we can kind of compare now. I've put Forza 6 on the left. That's the Xbox One version compared to the latest Xbox One X on Forza 7.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the roughest of approximations because, the engine has been upgraded. I mean, we have baked-in weather systems on Forza 6. Forza 7 has fully dynamic weather rendering, fully dynamic lighting. It's a massive upgrade.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's really impressive because the Nurburgring, over the course of the track, I had to use the latter half because that's when the rain properly kicked in and the storms and all that. So there isn't exact parity in this comparison, but hey, it looks fantastic when it kicks off. It is attempting to rival the stuff Project Cars is doing, which was always the advantage that game had. It's hard to ignore the competition with Gran Turismo Sport as well, which we saw the beta for recently. 1800p, I believe that was with checkerboarding as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So to see this running with all these weather dynamics and a true 4K, that's quite special.
Yeah, and let's not forget the locked 60 frames per second, which is the studio's signature. I mean, it doesn't drop at all, or at least it shouldn't do. We have to do some more granular analysis on this, but based on what we've seen of the feed so far, completely locked 60 frames per second. And if it isn't, the likes of Chris Tector just won't let that stand. They'll be going in and optimizing before the game ships, just like they've done on virtually every previous Forza to get that perfect frame rate.
Cool, so that'll do for a quick taster, I guess, of what we've got to expect from Forza 7, and thank you, Rich.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, just one thing, if you want to see this video at its best, please consider supporting the Digital Foundry Patreon. Super bitrate 4K downloads are available, and in addition to the edit you're seeing here, we've got raw gameplay feed of the game as well. So yeah, definitely worth checking out there.
Lovely stuff. Right, well, if you did enjoy this analysis, do feel free to like and subscribe. But until next time, from me and Rich, thanks for watching.